Santiago Canyon College is an innovative learning community in Orange, California, with more than 260 certificate and degree programs. Santiago Canyon College is a proud sponsor of community programming and OC World.
OC World is made possible by the generous contributions of Marisla Foundation, Keith and Judy Swain Family Foundation, Wells Fargo Bank, the University of California, Irvine, Orange County Community Foundation, Farmers and Merchants Bank, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Republican Young Kim secured a third term representing Inland Orange County in the U.S. House of Representatives. Kim, who was born in South Korea and now lives in Anaheim Hills, focused her campaign on reducing taxes and lessening the burden of rising costs for middle-class families. She will continue as co-chair of the Financial Literacy and Wealth Creation Caucus, which aims to equip Americans with the skills and resources they need for economic stability, wealth building, and prosperity. The caucus is intended to inform and promote strategies that empower families and individuals to make better financial decisions and realize their economic goals. OC World sat down with Congresswoman Kim to discuss her personal journey and her hopes for the financial wellness of future generations. So I thought maybe a good place to start is just sort of your personal background, and think about, as you're discussing the personal background, sort of the lessons you've learned along the way in terms of the importance of financial competence.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much, Scott, for the opportunity to talk to you and to talk about financial literacy and the Wealth Creation Caucus that Congresswoman Joyce Beatty and I are serving as co-chairs. This is a caucus of two co-chairs with more than 30 bipartisan members that are looking at ways in Washington. What are some of the policies and initiatives that we can drive through this caucus to help millions of Americans who may not be familiar with what financial literacy is and why it's so important to create their personal wealth. I am an immigrant from South Korea. I was a young girl when my family immigrated to the United States. That was almost 5 decades ago, believe it or not. When I came here, I didn't speak a word of English, nor did my parents, because they were already over the age of like 55, 60. Really, I'm the youngest of what used to be 7 children. Now there's 5 of us left. And I remember just helping my parents. Even though I was a young girl, I guess I was a little more brave, going with them to groceries, helping them pay at the cashier, taking them to DMV to get their first driver's licenses. All of these were very new experience to me. And then as we try to assimilate and settle down, my parents wanted to start their own business, but coming from South Korea without any credit whatsoever, no built-in relationship they can go, no built-in banks or financial institutions that they knew of to get access to capital to start up their first business. This was a very, very challenging times for us. But what I understand right now is in our culture, either back home in Korea or here, with the number of Korean Americans all across the United States, they have adopted what they call the 개 system. What it is if there were 10 of you, you would get together every month. Each of you would put in $100 in a pot. One person will walk away with $1,000. remember, 50 years ago, $1,000 could be a lot of money. But it's just an example. If you can afford it, you put $1,000 per person and you walk away with $10,000 at that time. That is enough to use as a down payment to start up a small size business, or take it to the bank and use it as a down payment to get a larger loan. So this is a system that I'm familiar with, which I know a lot of financial institutions today are using it. That's how we started. And I can relate, coming from a different background with very diverse community that I lived and grew up, and also not having the opportunity to understand what financial resources and tools were available to us. Even if they were available, we just didn't know where to go and get those. So that's the background that I come in. And now I get to serve and utilize my personal story, personal background, and understand why there are millions of Americans in a very similar situation that I went through decades ago. We can still help them today.
Wow, that's beautiful, by the way. That gives really nice background and context for the beginning of this, right? And I appreciate that. During that process of applying for loans, working with your family, working with your parents as a young girl, were there any particular lessons that you think you've learned from that process that sort of applied to you as you became more successful in your own personal life?
Obviously, if there were organizations specifically focused on providing these financial tools and resources available, and if we knew about it, I think it would have helped us really start better and start becoming more aware of the financial tools that were available. Our caucus is working very closely with Aspen Institute, who are really helping to put the private public sectors together and make sure that the tools are available, and through the workshops, conferences, we are able to disseminate all of this information. So if they were available at the time, not speaking a word of English and being so young, like when I first immigrated, I did not know anything about it. But today there are organizations and groups and many financial institutions like Wells Fargo. They provide these financial literacy workshops. And so I'm really glad that it's different time today than when I first got here.
As you were growing up and facing these same hurdles that people today face, you didn't have access to those resources and those tools. Yet you managed to get through it and succeed. Mm-hmm. High school, junior college, or community college, colleges, is there enough currently financial literacy or competency programs being taught? And why is there such a need for these sorts of programs even today?
When I was growing up, I think the business systems, like learning how to do 10-key adding machine was available, learning how to use calculators, that was available. But that's not enough, right? Today, everything happens instantaneously. So it's no longer teaching individuals how to write a checkbook anymore. It's how to be conscious about the cyber security concerns, or understanding how to move transaction from one bank to another bank and send money and receive money instantaneously. These are the things that we need to now teach to individuals so they are better equipped with the current 21st century tools. That's what's different than before and today.
And these tools are available to everybody.
It's available to everybody. We just have to make sure we connect those tools and resources to the individuals that need it. That's where the caucus come in, and that's where your work, your program is going to be helpful for anyone who's watching the program, that we're here to provide those resources and information available.
What do you think are some of the hurdles that current families face when it comes to a lack of financial competency in the home? I
would think that mainly it would be the language barrier. Also, used to be, the financial exclusion was another big hurdle. But they used to say financial exclusion is an urban problem or rural problem, but I no longer think it is the case. It's a national problem. And one's zip code or ethnic background shouldn't be what determines one's success, achieving the American dream. That anyone who has the ability to understand where those resources are, I think we can help them achieve their financial wealth.
Language barriers,
Language barrier, I would
and
say.
exclusion. Can you define those for me and give me sort of a realistic, everyday application?
If you are in a rural area, that you have less opportunity to understand what resources are available, or the financial institutions might be just a small community banks or credit unions that only serve that small rural community. They may not be what we see in Los Angeles or in New York or in the larger cities. That's where they used to say we have a financial exclusion problem there. But I'm excited because now I have the opportunity to give opportunity to talk about all of this. It's not just, talk about the financial exclusion in a bipartisan way that, as I mentioned earlier, one's zip code where you live or one's background, whether I'm an Asian American, Hispanic American, African American, or if you're an newly arrived immigrant, that you're not going to be excluded from having the opportunity to get your hands on the information that's available to you.
So are you suggesting to the 15.5 million viewers that watch KLCS TV that they have these tools and resources available to them, and if they utilize those, they would be treated fairly?
The earlier people understand that there are tools available and utilize them, I think they will be able to build a stronger network of financial institutions that organization that can give you the workshop so you can participate and ask questions about how do I set up my online banking accounts, or how do I set up my CDs? Is it smart to plan today and do a 30-day CD or a year CD? Or what are some of the other opportunities that I can budget better? What are some of the opportunities that I can plan for the retirement better? These are the opportunities that I think providing them with the early education with the financial literacy programs would really help them create their own wealth.
Why do we find ourselves here? Why is financial literacy not taught in elementary school, or is it taught in elementary school? Junior high school, high school? How come people are coming out into the workforce unprepared to deal with their own financial issues?
Well, I wouldn't say they are not being taught in schools, but are they being taught with the right tools that are available? What are they focusing on, right? We need to focus on whether or not, you're preparing students, if they are taught these classes, to do the right budgeting, right? Because people think that they have unlimited amount that they can spend. Just give each student or anybody a credit card. This plastic does wonder, they think, right? What they need to understand is that it is a debt trap for you, right? Don't rely on that little plastic card. That's how our government also got into trouble where we are. We're over $33 trillion in national debt. Looking at it from the smaller scale, right? If you can only make $1,000 a month, you need to understand that you have to spend less than $1,000. If you think you can spend more than $1,000 just because you can put everything on that credit card, then you're going to be sitting on the mountain of debt. You're not going to get away with it. So we need to make sure that individuals are prepared to understand how they can budget and then plan accordingly, so they don't get into that situation where they are hurting themselves. There is also a financial fraud that's going on. They need to understand what are those things that you need to look for so you don't get into that trouble that you don't want to get yourself into that.
I'm going to throw out some statistics just for fun.
Okay.
I wrote these down. More than 50 million people live in a state of financial crisis. 64% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. 30% of adults say they are unable to afford an unexpected expense of even $400. How did we get here?
The numbers that you talked about is something that I was going to share as a reality check here, right? There is over 57 million private sector workers who lack access to retirement plan also, right? So if you're working at a company, there are a lot of small businesses that do not offer you the retirement plan. If you are not working, you have absolutely no way of saving. So there is the percentage that you talked about. Most Americans, a majority of them, 43 or 50% of the Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and they cannot even meet the emergency expenses of about $400 too. That is very surprising data. So we want to make sure that they know that if you start early, plan ahead, and there are a lot of financial advisors that will work with you without charging you. You need to work with them. Just like visit with your financial advisors. If you know about somebody that's around you, please visit with them regularly. Talk about your financial goals and plans, just like you do with your doctors or dentists. You know, you can prevent catastrophe, right? I think that's what we're going to need to do. And people, again, get into this financial debt trap because they're not planning and budgeting carefully. I believe a lot of people get into the situation where they are financially struggling is because, first of all, millions of Americans do not do proper budgeting, right? I think that is the real problem there. Used to be when I was a young girl, my mom would give me some, monthly allowance, and I had to use within that means. And I write down how much I spent so I can show to my parents so that I can get the same amount as an allowance for the next month or so. Over time, I don't see any households or parents doing this thing with their younger kids. So even from that very, very small level, proper budgeting will really help individuals to have a better sense of planning for the future. Understanding that you have to live within the means. That is no longer the case, which unfortunately is where we are seeing millions of people in a financial crisis. Same thing, no different than the government.
And so what is the role of government in terms of helping to turn all this around?
As co-chair of the Financial Literacy and Wealth Creation, well, I personally felt that there is a role for Congress to work on policies and initiatives that will help individuals to better understand how they can budget, come up with the financial planning, and save for their future retirement. Along the way, we have some savings where you can use it to do better savings that can turn into larger, using different type of products with the small savings today, understanding the compound interest. If you save a little bit today and keep it there for, let's say, 10, 18 years, this is what we need to be teaching our youngsters. That's what we're trying to do through the caucus, educate individuals that you put $1,000 today. Don't touch it until 18 years when your child is ready to go to college. The power of compound interest will help you really create wealth over time. Those are the things that we are trying to help individuals understand. And again, we are also working on a couple of legislation that I think people will be interested in understanding how they can build stronger credit to get more access to capital they may need to start up a business or just have a better financial planning overall.
So define for the audience this caucus, how it works, and how that process is then going to manifest some sort of reaction in the community.
So this caucus is run by two co-chairs, myself and Congresswoman Joyce Beatty from Ohio. We have to date over 30 members of Congress in a bipartisan way who share our vision. We work under 3 pillars and objectives, and that is to educate members of Congress that as elected members, they have a duty to share and educate their constituents about the financial tools that are available. 2 is draft and support policies to ensure Americans that they have the tools they need to strengthen their financial wellness and achieve their lasting financial security. And we're going to work on the 3rd pillar, which is promote better coordination between private and public sectors to create pathways for wealth building. So if we're working on bills, initiatives, we want to use the public sector to help amplify the information that is available.
Let's tackle them one at a time. How do you propose the American people will become educated? How does that work?
So financial institutions like the Wells Fargo Bank or other even credit unions or organizations that put all of these financial workshops together, we will be partnering with them. They may do their own thing, but individual members of Congress in their own districts can partner with those private institutions and bring them together, just like we do with the town halls. We'll be doing that as a workshop and bring them and ask them, Wells Fargo, what are you doing in terms of educating your community? And then as legislators, we also talk about these are the bills that we're working on that will help private sector to educate the public a little more with the tools that's available.
And policy. Are there policies being
Yeah.
sort of formulated currently? And as you define those policies, you know, for the average person who's struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, think about, you know, what they may not know about the policy
Yeah.
process.
Sure. Let me talk about the Secure 2.0. Everybody knows that, hopefully. I've been very supportive of Secure 1.0 and now 2.0. What it does is it encourages the small businesses who are too small and worried about the cost of setting up retirement plan for their employees to be able to pull together their several businesses resources together and open up a joint retirement plan for their workers. That is called the multiple employer plan, MEPs. Through our caucus, we're trying to educate more small businesses that this is available to them, because we found over time through the surveys that we've done, not too many small businesses are utilizing these MEPs, multiple employer plans. So that's something that we're doing our educational workshops to make sure they understand this. And also educating them about Secure 2.0's several provisions that's going to go into place starting 2024 too. That includes small business to offer the retirement plan for their employees even if they are part-time workers. That's also something that most people didn't know, that if you're a part-timer, you don't have any other employee benefits. But Secure 2.0 will extend that. Also, what Secure 2.0 does is that it gives the tax incentives for businesses if they pull together and allow these retirement plans and offer to their individuals. It will be 100% given their tax credit if they do this. And it could be up to $5,000. So for small businesses, this is a great incentive to offer the retirement plan and recruit qualified, quality number of employees to come and work for their companies.
This is currently available to small businesses?
Secure 2.0 is available, yes. The MEP that I talked about is available. So I want people to understand that you can get tax credit, as well as if you cannot do it by yourself as a one small business. Oftentimes we have sole proprietors just by themselves or one employee. They are afraid of the startup costs and operating costs, administrative costs, so they don't offer retirement plans, but they can pull the resources together with 2 or 3 or many other small businesses in that sense. So that is available.
Seems unique that it's even offered to part-timers.
Well, that's why we want to expand that, and that's why we're supportive of the Secure 2.0 legislation. This is an expansion of the Secure 1.0 program.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Yes,
thank you
yes.
for explaining
Yeah.
that. What kind of advice or what kind of comment or leave behind statement would you like to say to the audience in terms of the hopefulness of the work that you're doing, the legislation current and in development for the benefit of their own lives?
Of budgeting and actively seeking out, talking to your financial advisors. If you don't have one, go to a nearby bank. Everybody has a checking account or savings account. Talk to your banker about what information can they benefit from the bank that you have a banking relationship with. Ask them about how can I do a better job of doing my future planning so I don't fall into the debt trap basis. So talking to your financial advisors or bankers early on will really help you not get into the financial debt, but help you better plan for future success. Look, I'm an immigrant, and I came here with literally nothing, not even speaking a word of English. But I was able to start my own business as well. I thought I did a pretty good job at it until the calling came and said, okay, you can do and help other Americans succeed and realize their American dream too by getting into office that I'm serving right now and work on policies that will help them be successful and have a strong financial tools they need to live their American dream as well. So please understand that there are enough of us in Washington, in Sacramento, or wherever we are. We're working on policies to ensure that America succeeds, and that means making sure that every individual, every business have the tools they need to live that American dream. I think it's in the best interest of everybody and the early or just newly arriving immigrant community. I think they understand the first thing they need to do is go find a local bank or credit unions and start your banking relationship. It is in the best interest of them to build that credit from early on to get access to capital if they want to start a business so that they can get the business loan out.